The Five Kage Summit arc is a calm before the storm story beat which locks in the central players for the endgame of this story. In the wake of the Pain arc, Toby could no longer hide behind Pain as a figurehead of the Akatsuki and had to be the face of the world's greatest threat, all the while manipulating Sasuke. This invites Naruto's desire to bring about peace, driving both of them into eventual direct conflict. Compile all this with the mistrust between the Kage as they try to come to some agreement on who should lead the battle against the Akatsuki, and this arc is well defined by its multiple moving parts. This is Naruto Shippuden's Five Kage Summit. A dangerous, calm. Opening up this arc after Pain's assault sets up perfectly what would transpire later on within it. A major village has been destroyed and the count of extracted tail beasts by the Akatsuki has grown to 7, with Naruto and Killer Bee being the only ones left. The Akatsuki have posed a great threat to the world for a long time at this point, so the 5 great nations deciding to discuss an alliance makes complete sense. However, given that Tsunade was out of commission at this point, someone had to take her place and Danzo was rather fitting for the occasion. His introduction in chapter 281 and subsequent appearances made him a somewhat mysterious figure. Being the leader of the Foundation and Tsunade's description of him as this bitter anti-Third Hokage elder of the village sees to it that he isn't viewed favorably by readers at all. Combine this with his appearance as this frail looking old man paints the perfect picture of his character. He prides himself on deception, his ideals, and being underestimated. Furthermore, he had to be a formidable ninja because a Kage doesn't just represent a strong diplomatic figure. They are a representation of their village's strength, and the reveal of Danzo's Sharingan completed his design perfectly. He is embodying deception in both looks and in jutsu application. This reveal is meant to be surprising to readers and any opponents he faces, all the while giving Sasuke more of a reason to hunt him down. There's a huge distinction too. No one calls Danzo Danzo of the Sharingan like Kakashi because he brandishes the Sharingan as a secret. It's not sentimental or given, it's taken and abused. He's been rewarded by the spoils of war like another character in this arc, yet the way Danzo uses the Sharingan goes beyond the spoils of war. A fact that'll be touched upon much later when he faces off against Sasuke. Still, its power gives him an edge against his fellow Kage during the summit. Speaking of the 5 Kage, each is introduced with brief bits of characterization and some nice double-page spreads. The Raikage and his subordinates from the Hidden Cloud in particular started off very strong, with Karui beating Naruto for not giving up information on Sasuke. As one would imagine, Killer Bee's capture is obviously personal for the Cloud and the Raikage. It would beg for hatred to start and retaliation to be sparked. So the beating Naruto receives on behalf of Sasuke's actions is him taking in that very hate. Just like with Nagato, he'll use his words rather than violence. Facing the Raikage with this in mind makes Naruto's plea being rejected hard to stomach. Asking for Sasuke's actions to be effectively forgotten was impossible. Compiling this with the Raikage's speech about how a shinobi should never bow their head so easily, and the history of the world being that of war, the world wrote the script for this conversation before it ever really began. However, at the core of this conversation sits 2 people in titles and stations that are unbecoming of their roles. Naruto, the man who defeated the perceived leader of the Akatsuki, Pain, prostrates himself so easily. Jinchuriki are weapons, yet one begs for peace. As the Raikage does not wish to seek peace, instead resigning himself to his emotional response and the ways of the world. Even in these roles, both have a right to their actions here. Naruto has had his worldview developed and his friend at risk. Has been seasoned in the ways of the shinobi world for far longer than Naruto, and his village's greatest asset has been stolen. What else were either of these characters going to respond with given the situation at hand? It's a moment that fills out both of these characters quite clearly, all the while explaining the state of the world post Pain's life in it. It's an amazing scene with 2 characters who are strong in their words and ideals, with one of them showing a sense of respect or curiosity for the other's ability to think the way that they do, which folds nicely into the 5 Kage Summit arc where the relationships of the 5 Kage are put into play. This meeting is a perfect example of why the world is currently in the state that it is. The Kage's quote-unquote discussion about who will lead the potential alliance is nothing but a measuring contest of who's done more shady stuff than the other guy. And the worst part is, all the reasons brought up are understandable or outright justified. It's only when Gaara decides to discard all of those things, when the conversation feels like it'll start to go somewhere, when Danzo confirms the Raikage's right to distrust everyone else in the room.
Hey kid, I am gonna teach you the fear of true fury!
Given Danzo being targeted by Sasuke, his face-off against A was practically fate. The Kage gauntlet he undergoes offers an interesting assessment of his strength, and despite the help of his allies, him being able to go up against as many Kage as he did and fight with A for as long as he did is more than impressive. What's more, the Amaterasu would have its last relevant use to my knowledge for the entire series. Without the power given to him thanks to his brother's struggles, he would have surely been overwhelmed and killed in these series of battles. Still, the bitterness, sadness, and hatred behind this ability awakening in him burns what would be a beautiful message for almost any other character. The strength gained through heartbreak and loss is not used for protecting or saving, but destruction and revenge. After being pushed beyond his own limits, Toby comes in to save his life and declares the Fourth Great Ninja War at the same time, bringing this section to an appropriate climax. It's the ultimate unifier, suppressing any objection shared throughout the Five Kage Summit following the meeting's ruined state. Moreover, A's speech about war being the way of the world is reinforced here because it is the world's imminent future. Unfortunately, it places Naruto on a much steeper path to take, and it's a path that isn't made any easier by Sakura deciding to confess to him, which resulted in a large rift in the fanbase regarding her character. One thing to get out of the way is Sakura's intentions. She isn't trying to be wholly selfish because she wants to protect Naruto. However, she doesn't understand Naruto's motivations and completely misinterprets his character. Her lack of awareness here creates a moment that feels tailor-made to make the audience hate her. Sakura has been defined by her love of Sasuke, but it has never been her entire character. Her moments in part 1, then her bigger moments of maturity demonstrated through her medical ninjutsu, combat prowess, and character development proved that in part 2. Her gross overimportance placed on the promise Naruto made to her and feeling the need to shoulder that burden only to later not be able to pull through on her mission is exactly how it looks. Deep down, she is still that love-struck girl who couldn't hurt Sasuke even if she tried, but is more than willing to hurt Naruto with reckless abandon. Despite her obvious maturity as a ninja, as a person, that remains the exact same. This single interaction and sentence overshadows her progress in the series, resulting in a panic attack with Naruto after both of his closest friends are basically going to kill each other on top of the pressures already weighing on him. It's a scene that hurts Sakura's character massively and really does assassinate it in the most conventional sense, all the while advancing the story in no capacity. Nevertheless, it happens, and that's all there is to really say. Fortunately, Killer Bee vs Kisame and a few other interactions draw the attention of this arc back to the rising tensions between the distinct factions. Thus, the final battle of this arc comes into full focus with Danzo coming face to face with Toby and Sasuke. The brief battle between Toby and Danzo's subordinates was both cool and a shame. Torune and Fu are two fully realized representations of what Shino and Ino could have become in Shippuden. Hindsight is 2020, so it's a damn shame that we couldn't get some crazy jutsu out of those two like demonstrated against Toby and Ao in the woods. Just to break script for a minute, y'all should read chapters 469, 471, and 472 because it has Fu taking over Ao's body to destroy the Byakugan in his eye or retake it. Either one, I don't remember exactly, but it's a really underrated interaction and it was pretty damn cool. Anyway, back to it. After these subordinates are dealt with, Toby leaves Sasuke to clean up Danzo. Danzo revealing an entire arm of Sharingan made him all the more of a disgusting character. The eyes of Sasuke's people are basically branded like trophies as one of their signature jutsu is used repeatedly to wear him down. The repeated deaths on Danzo's part feel deserved, like each one is bringing him closer to some sort of victory, but farther from his humanity. His approach to fighting is underhanded and based in deception, just like his design alluded to from the start. However, even with this fight's conclusion being as cruel as it was, after understanding everything, something clicked. Sasuke and Danzo have an interesting relationship which sits at the heart of their fight. Both of them are characters who compare themselves to their brothers or closest friends. A comparison that led to an inferiority complex because all they could see was what they lacked when compared to the strengths of Naruto, Itachi, or Hiruzen. Sasuke and Danzo dive deeper and deeper into darkness, contrasting the light of their brothers, specifically Naruto and Hiruzen. While Danzo has definitely committed far greater atrocities than Sasuke has by a landslide, Sasuke is following in the same darkness. He leaves everyone behind for his ambitions, losing his humanity bit by bit as he discarded everyone that isn't useful to him. He's like a child having an emotional outburst, caring very little for everyone around him. He's absorbed by his suffering and his story, a product of what the world made him. Exactly like Danzo, the circumstances surrounding the village and tense relationships between all the other villages. There's no doubt he felt every move he made was something he thought could be justified in one way or another. In a similar vein, Sasuke more than feels justified for making an enemy of Konoha for what he and his people suffered through. However, people have died because of their decisions, because of their ideals. They embody the idea of weakness born from rejection, growing into hatred, drowning them in darkness. There is no justification for what either of them have done, and these comparisons only make them seem like two sides of the same coin in different depths of the same place. Where the audience can sympathize to some extent regarding Sasuke's mentality and decision making, Danzo wholeheartedly chose his path without reservation. What's also quite interesting is that Danzo working in the shadows is something Sasuke would choose to do for himself when he came face to face with fighting Naruto at the end of the story. At the end of their fight here though, Sasuke sacrifices his last ally, taking the road of solitude like his brother. Danzo risks his life for his village, trying to eliminate an enemy of his own making, just like Hiruzen. Danzo versus Sasuke is an ugly fight all the way through. A battle that kills a man rightfully deserving of death and bringing the last Uchiha to the lowest depths of his hatred. His teacher gave up trying to save him, and the woman who fell in love with him tried to kill him. He abandoned all of his allies with nothing but hatred on his mind. Naruto goes through 3 phases in this arc, from his pleas being rejected to his worries crushing him and bringing himself back up to save his friend. He serves to bring peace to the ninja world as he told Nagato he would. He pursues becoming Hokage and wants to save Sasuke all at the same time. While the relationship can be and is unhealthy in a lot of ways, it's not too far off to assume that a no one left behind mentality is what Naruto carries with these desires. Violence is what led the world to its current status, so he desires a dialogue. It's because of violence he understands Sasuke's pain, and it is ultimately what will end their relationship. For the moment though, all Naruto can do is redirect all that hatred his friend feels towards him because he wants to save him and he wants to save the ninja world, which abuses so many. Sasuke's agreement to kill Naruto was the only way to settle things because their connection couldn't be just severed. Both matured during and after this conversation. Naruto from the impulsive child who would have done anything and everything to take Sasuke back. Sasuke grew from the dark hole he was previously in some capacity. It's a form of mercy really, because he'll have to direct his focus onto one person without fighting the whole world, even if just for a moment. While this resolution isn't formally a part of this arc, it still feels like it's where it genuinely ends. Sasuke's hate brought him into the focus of the world, challenging each of his leaders and allying with the man who's declared the 4th Great Ninja War. He's dived into the dark and Naruto stands tall to pull him back to the surface even after everything that's happened. Even with this small step towards resolving the mess the world has become, it's a fitting end. Once again, this arc is defined by its multiple moving parts, but filled out by its complex relationships built on animosity, outright hatred, or varying levels of distrust and self-interested alliances. And with that, it brings me to the end of this video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Please stay safe out there and have yourselves a damn good one. I'll see you all next time.